Definitely one of the funnest parts of the night are the introductions and being introduced into the room. If your timeline is going to get thrown off, this is most likely where it's going to happen. What happens is the bridal party will get into the room, and the bride and groom will get in the room, and you'll think in your head, all I have to do is get in the room, and then I'll be introduced. And then you'll remember, oh, I need to bustle my dress really quick. And you'll learn really quick that the bustling process can be a bit of a small nightmare, but just food for thought. Know it before you get into it, and just kind of plan for it. If you are a shy bride and you don't want to be introduced, or it's just not your thing, that is totally awesome. Also, you definitely don't need to be introduced. It's not a big deal. If you're a shy bride but you do want to be introduced, you want to have a conversation with your disc jockey so that he or she knows, so that they can tone down the introductions a little bit and not make them too big. Normally, what we do is we will introduce the bridal party working backwards, and then the bride and groom. So you'll have bridesmaids so-and-so escorted by groomsmen so-and-so, all the way up to the maid of honor so-and-so escorted by best man so-and-so, and then the bride. About 30% of the time, we will also introduce the parents. If your parents are divorced and things are squirrely that way, that is something to consider whether or not you want to do that. If you are having a flower girl or a ring bearer and they're super small and you do want them introduced in the room, then my best advice is for you to put them with somebody that they're comfortable with, a cousin or aunt or just a friend of the family that is in the bridal party. Have them walk in near them to help them make it into the room. When it comes to music, there are a couple different ways you can do it. The most common is having a song for the bridal party and then a song for the bride and groom. And I guess these days it's almost just as common to just have one song for the bridal party and the bride and groom. If you want to get super fancy, each group can have their own song. It's fun. It can be a little bit choppy, and if you're not working with an experienced disc jockey, I definitely don't suggest that you do that. But if you want to go for it, it is fun. If your DJ is super experienced, they can say something funny or interesting for each group as they walk into the room. And of course, each thing they add on increases the complexity of it, and there's more room for error. So, your DJ is human, and even if you hire a pro, he can goof up, and it's fine. But it's just food for thought. So, if you're really worried about your disc jockey screwing up or making a mistake, it's just something to think about. There are a couple different ways that we can introduce the bride and groom. The most common is Mr. and Mrs. Robbie and Diana Smith. And then the next most common is Mr. and Mrs. Robbie Smith. And if you're from the South, it's very common to do just Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I'm sure other areas are the same also. As for music that you pick, you can go so many different directions with that. You can do something fun and upbeat, something classy, something silly, and there's no limits to what you can do. It is okay to have a song with words, and we'll give you a list of some different ideas for songs that you can use. Another thing to consider is the type of song that you pick will encourage the disc jockey to liven up the introductions or have it more classy. So, for example, say that you pick a Frank Sinatra song for the introduction. He probably won't be belting you into the room. But if you pick something like the Black Eyed Peas or something more modern than that, he'll probably have a stronger announcement for the bridal party and the bride and groom into the room. So If you do want your disc jockey to have it stay more low key, besides talking about this with him or her, you also want to possibly pick a song that's a little bit more laid back or calm or cool and collective and that kind of thing. Hope that helps.